beef up, this incident highlights the human cost of these policies. Is this a glimpse of what's to come under Trump's presidency? Let's unpack the shocking footage and the plans fueling such chaos. The viral order. The viral video depicting military personnel confronting migrants at the border has stunned viewers and sparked significant controversy. This footage, emerging amidst President-elect Donald Trump's bold immigration proposals, serves as a preview of what his upcoming administration has in store. Trump recently declared his intention to use military assets to carry out mass deportations, further solidifying his campaign promise to initiate the largest deportation effort in American history. Posting on social media, Trump confirmed his plan to declare a national emergency shortly after taking office in January 2025. This strategy is already facing legal and ethical scrutiny. Under the Posse Comitatus Act of 1878, active duty troops are restricted from enforcing domestic law without congressional authorization. However, Trump's legal team and advisors may attempt to sidestep this limitation by deploying the National Guard. Experts suggest that National Guard units could be leveraged to provide crucial logistical support, such as building detention centers, constructing border barriers, and assisting with drone surveillance. While these roles would position the military in a support capacity rather than direct law enforcement, they nonetheless push the boundaries of conventional immigration policy. Such a militarized approach magnifies the scale of Trump's commitment to reversing what he terms the Biden invasion. The former president and his allies argue that years of lax immigration policies have emboldened criminal networks and jeopardized national security. Trump has vowed to invoke existing legal tools, such as the 1798 Alien Enemies Act, to bolster his efforts. This rarely used law, which requires a congressional declaration of war, could allow for the detention and removal of foreign nationals deemed threats to the United States. Critics, however, view these measures as an alarming overreach of executive power. Civil rights groups warn that escalating military involvement at the border could result in widespread human rights violations. They point to the logistical and moral challenges of deploying the military in such operations, which could further strain relations with neighboring countries and attract international condemnation. Military insiders have also expressed concern, noting that such strategies might damage morale and politicize the armed forces. On the ground, the National Guard has already been utilized for border security tasks, such as reinforcing barriers with barbed wire and providing transportation for law enforcement. Trump's plan appears to amplify these roles significantly, potentially making the military a cornerstone of immigration enforcement. While legal experts emphasize the potential for congressional resistance and judicial challenges, Trump remains undeterred. His rhetoric suggests a willingness to confront these obstacles head-on. Supporters of the president-elect hail this strategy as a long-overdue solution to years of ineffective border control. They argue that deploying military resources will deter illegal crossings and restore order to a chaotic immigration system. These backers, including prominent conservative figures, frame the plan as a decisive action to protect American sovereignty and prioritize national security. This viral footage, coupled with Trump's recent statements, highlights the magnitude of the shift in U.S. immigration enforcement under his leadership. The question now is not whether Trump will follow through on his plans, but rather how aggressively he will push the limits of existing laws and what repercussions will follow. As the administration's plans take shape, attention turns to Trump's personnel appointments and their roles in implementing this controversial vision. As Trump prepares to return to the White House, his administration is assembling a team of hardline enforcers to shape the most aggressive immigration policies in U.S. history. Central to this effort are Tom Homan and Stephen Miller, two individuals who have become synonymous with Trump's uncompromising approach to border security. Homan, the newly appointed border czar, served as acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, during Trump's first term. He's no stranger to controversy, having overseen a 40% spike in immigrant arrests during his tenure. Homan's fiery rhetoric leaves little doubt about his intentions. At a recent conservative gathering, he declared, "You've got my word. Trump comes back in January. I will run the biggest deportation operation this country's ever seen." His words resonate with Trump's base, who see Homan as a steadfast defender of border integrity. Stephen Miller, another prominent figure in Trump's immigration agenda, will serve as Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy. Miller's fingerprints were all over Trump's first term policy. policies, including the family separation program and travel bans targeting predominantly Muslim countries. At a rally in New York, Miller lambasted the impact of illegal immigration, accusing migrants of stealing jobs and endangering American families. His appointment signals a doubling down on policies that prioritize enforcement and deterrence over humanitarian considerations. Homan and Miller's appointments are part of Trump's broader strategy, which includes invoking the 1798 Alien Enemies Act to expel foreign nationals deemed threats. Dubbed Operation Aurora, this initiative aligns with Trump's promise to end what he calls the migrant invasion. The plan involves deploying military resources to assist ICE, a move that has already drawn sharp criticism from civil rights advocates and military experts alike. While Homan insists the deportation effort will be well-targeted and humane, the scale and scope of Operation Aurora raise serious concerns. Migrants, many fleeing violence and poverty, often undertake perilous journeys in search of safety. The UN's International Organization for Migration recently named the US-Mexico border the deadliest land route for migrants worldwide, underscoring the risks they face. The rhetoric surrounding Trump's appointments and immigration policies sets a dramatic stage for what's to come. Both Homan and Miller are unwavering in their hardline stances, which are widely polarizing. Homan's promise to run the largest deportation operation in US history and Miller's focus on enforcing strict immigration controls are only the beginning of Trump's bold immigration vision. But amidst all the planning and appointments, Trump's public rhetoric has been making waves, foreshadowing heated debates and controversies surrounding his immigration policies. One particular rally moment has captured widespread attention, amplifying the already intense national conversation. During a rally in the Florida Panhandle, Donald Trump sparked sharp criticism with his response to an audience member's controversial suggestion, further fueling debates over his hardline immigration rhetoric. While addressing his supporters, Trump bemoaned the challenges faced by Border Patrol agents in controlling the flow of migrants at the US-Mexico border. Amid his remarks, a member of the audience shouted, "Shoot them." Instead of condemning the statement, Trump chuckled, repeating, "Only in the Panhandle," as the crowd erupted in laughter and applause. This offhand comment has added fuel to the already intense immigration debate. Critics argue that Trump's reaction, whether intended as a joke or not, signals tacit approval of extreme measures against migrants. The incident has brought the former president's history of incendiary rhetoric into sharper focus, with many pointing to the dangerous implications such comments can have in an already polarized and volatile atmosphere. Trump's history of inflammatory statements about migrants is well documented, but this latest incident has revived discussions about the impact of his words. In 2019, he openly mused on Fox News about the effectiveness of other countries using lethal force against migrants. While insisting that the US wouldn't do the same, he left a lingering sense that such measures were on his mind. During his presidency, he authorized troops at the border to use lethal force if necessary, and suggested that rocks thrown by migrants could be considered firearms in terms of response. This rally, however, took things further by bringing his audience directly into the exchange. The shouted suggestion and Trump's laughter blurred the line between rhetoric and encouragement. Critics argue that such moments normalize violence against vulnerable populations, with real-world consequences for migrants already facing dire conditions. Armed militias patrolling the borderlands have been emboldened by such rhetoric in the past, raising concerns about vigilante actions inspired by the president's remarks. The fallout from this incident goes beyond the immediate uproar. It illustrates how deeply divisive immigration has become as a political issue in the US. Trump's rhetoric, amplified by his supporters' reactions, reflects a broader shift toward harsher, more confrontational approaches to immigration policy. This approach contrasts sharply with data showing that migrants are less likely to commit violent crimes and contribute significantly to the economy through taxes. Meanwhile, the international community watches these developments with concern. The United States has long positioned itself as a beacon of human rights and the rule of law. Moments like these, critics argue, tarnish that reputation and strain relationships with neighboring countries like Mexico, which bear the brunt of America's immigration policies. As Trump's comments fuel debates, his broader immigration agenda takes center stage. With calls for extreme measures, including the death penalty for migrants involved in violent crimes, the line between policy and provocation blurs further. Next, we'll dive into how these hardline proposals are shaping public opinion and the future of immigration enforcement in America. Building on his already contentious immigration platform, Trump's proposals have taken an even more severe turn with his calls for the death penalty for immigrants involved in violent crimes. This position, while shocking to some, has been a recurring theme in Trump's rhetoric as he frames his policies around public safety and a no-compromise approach to crime. This controversial stance has drawn both fervent support and widespread condemnation. Advocates argue that such measures send a strong message to deter heinous crimes, while critics warn of the moral and legal implications, as well as potential misuse against vulnerable populations. Legal experts have pointed out the significant challenges in implementing such a policy, given the constitutional protections and international human rights treaties that the US is obligated to uphold. Trump has frequently linked immigration to violent crime in his speeches, often highlighting isolated incidents to bolster his narrative. However, studies have repeatedly shown that immigrants, both documented and undocumented, commit crimes at lower rates than native-born citizens. Yet, Trump's portrayal resonates with his base, who view his approach as decisive and necessary to protect American communities. As his policies escalate, the question arises, how far will these measures go, and at what cost to American ideals? With the stage set for sweeping reforms, Trump has hinted at mobilizing unparalleled resources to ensure his vision becomes a reality. As Trump's proposals unfold, we explore the logistics and implications of his most controversial move yet. How could the US military be used for Trump's mass deportation plan? As Trump continues to advance his hardline immigration agenda, his proposed involvement of the US military in mass deportations has sparked widespread debate. While the idea of leveraging military resources for border enforcement isn't entirely unprecedented, the scale and scope outlined by Trump represent uncharted territory. Here's how the military could potentially be deployed under his vision. Historically, the military's role at the border has been limited to support tasks. National Guard and active duty troops have been deployed to assist US Customs and Border Protection, CBP, with logistical operations, including transportation, maintenance, and surveillance. For instance, troops have laid concertina wire, repaired vehicles, and flown drones to monitor border crossings. Trump's proposed strategy could expand these roles, utilizing military personnel to build detention facilities, transport detainees, and support logistical infrastructure required for large-scale deportation operations. To push the military's involvement further, Trump and his advisors have suggested invoking the 1807 Insurrection Act. This law allows the president to deploy federal troops domestically in cases of rebellion or obstruction of federal law. If invoked, it could bypass legal restrictions like the Posse Comitatus Act, which prohibits the use of the military in civilian law enforcement roles without congressional approval. However, invoking the Insurrection Act for immigration enforcement would likely face significant legal and constitutional challenges. Trump's advisors, including Stephen Miller, have floated the idea of deputizing National Guard members as immigration enforcement officers. Unlike federal troops, the National Guard, under state control, isn't bound by the Posse Comitatus Act, making it a more flexible option for enforcing immigration laws. This would allow Guard members to assist CBP and Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE agents, in apprehending and detaining undocumented immigrants. The logistics of deporting millions.
Peace.